Friday night. Last night I came to you live from the streets of Vancouver as your sit-down, stand-up comedian, and that was very well received, so thank you so much for your feedback and for everybody checking it out and liking my picture and such. And, after stretching my comfort zone like that yesterday and spending a little bit of time out of there and having a few people come up, but most of the people that were out there were my family. And, while that felt good, I still felt nervous. And even though it was such a huge stretch of my comfort zone, it took a couple of minutes to me settling into it, which was kind of nice. And then today, last night I went to bed on such a high, like I just was feeling so secure and fond of myself and fond of the experience that I had created, and really, sort of hopeful about what this idea could turn into, what it could mean, because truthfully, mental health challenges, health issues, whatever you want to call them, I don't know, but mental health as a whole has a huge stigma around it. I know that I've been suffering in the shadows from mental health challenges, PTSD, generalized anxiety, definitely anxiety ridden to the point where I just go on complete lockdown, and did for many, many years stay in that sort of stuck in lockdown place. And when COVID hit, I was like, so how can I use my comedy, use my humor, use my comedy or my community outreach and my desire to build community and contribute in some way. And this seemed like a really viable way. And of course, when it was in its idea stages, it was the best idea ever. And I was super excited about it. I could hardly sleep at night. And I remember thinking, wow, this is going to be so cool. I'm so excited about it. And then, of course, going out and doing it is a completely different thing. Seriously nerve-wracking. I'm by myself. People are looking at me. They're like, what is she doing? I'm afraid that I'm going to cause an accident on my street in front of me, from people like driving by and going, and not watching the road. And so I'm feeling nervous about heading out there. And yesterday, was an indication of what's possible. And I did see it brought smiles to people's faces, which was the intention, and to add some levity to the world, which was the intention, and to have some fun with the silly walks, which again was the intention, and to do some videoing for July 1st show with Hilarapy on Canada Day in their White Rock celebration. We have 4 time slots that day, and at 4 p.m. our content will be going live. And there'll be a newscast and some stand-up comedy and a number of things happening at 4 p.m. You'll have Lockdown with Lizzie that day, and Hilarapy will be showcased with doing improv for kids in the morning. So there's lots of stuff going on that day, but my contribution was to be the sit-down stand-up comedian. And of course, again, 12 weeks ago when I came up with the idea, it sounded like a really good idea. Fast forward to creating the thing, creating the sign, painting everything. The creativity pieces of that were so juicy. I really enjoyed that piece and that part. And then, foot to pavement, have to make it happen, and the video is due, and oh no, I haven't done that, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this? What am I thinking? Who thought this was a good idea? Is this cheesy? Are people gonna stare at me? That, especially with generalized anxiety, because I tend to make up a lot of stories about a lot of things, and I never know which thing is going to set me off into that PTSD moment. So it's lots of fun navigating all the, the challenges that can come up with that. But like I said, last night I went to bed just feeling sort of so solid and so grounded and so rooted in passion and purpose, and it felt amazing, and I was on top of the clouds, and it was like, yeah, life's good. And then this morning I woke up in a pile of tears, and I was beside myself, and I felt stupid and ashamed and silly, and was thinking about what all the people that saw me that didn't stop must have thought of me. And I was inundated with these the stinking thinking that goes around, that gets involved in my brain and doesn't let up. And I was like beside myself because I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do it again. Like, I need to make some more footage today. Some of the footage we took yesterday, it can't be used. I want to do this ongoing. How is this going to work? Oh my God! Freaking out. And I called a good friend, and thankfully he came by and did a silly walk, and we just had a conversation. We did some more videos, and in that time, all of a sudden, a dad pulled up, and he brought his 2 kids, and they were trying to talk to me from the car, but it wasn't working, so they actually physically got out of their car and came and sat distanced on the grass and told me some jokes, and we laughed together, and it absolutely filled my heart because that to me is the point. Is being touched when people stop, and hopefully, and he said, I drove by, kind of got the notion of what you're doing here and thought, yeah, I'm gonna, so we turned around and came back, which was so cool. And his kids were shy at first, of course, granted, but 3 and 5, I think, and he said, what kind of kid jokes you have? And I went, oh my gosh, I don't have any kid jokes, nothing appropriate for a child anyway. And as a matter of fact, because I don't have anything written down, all of a sudden this comedian goes completely blank, and I can't tell a joke for all I'm worth. And so I really got and understood that I need to have a sheet with me to trigger my memory so that I can be on and and tell jokes. I had my microphone on, and those kids told me jokes, and we laughed together, and then eventually they took a silly walk with their dad, and this other guy came by on his bike. He's like, I rode past, and you just made my day, and I just had to stop and say hi. I've got to get home for dinner, but I just wanted to stop and say hi. You made my day. Can I take a picture, please? And I said, absolutely, for sure. Please look for us on July 1st. So getting the word out about Hilarapy, really putting myself out there and risking looking silly and foolish. And there was plenty of people that walked by and went, oh my God, and never even said hello or boo or anything else. And then there were people that just politely smiled when they walked by, and there was questions and everything else and answers, of course. And all in all, the majority of the people smiled at least. If there was no major interaction, there was a smile, which was the original intention, was to boost people's aliveness, their energy, their happiness, their joy, their laughter, their potential for laughter. And I spent the afternoon with a couple of strangers that I don't really know, but we touched each other today. In some way, they touched my life, and in some way, I touched theirs. And I think that's the point when we're living on purpose. Certainly, for me, it feels more fulfilling. So even though I went from really high to plummeting down to the, what feels like the core of the earth, when I'm just gutted and feeling stupid and foolish and out of control and silly and judged, and that's the times usually when I'm the hardest on myself. Like, what's wrong with you? What were you thinking? Oh, it's not really a big deal. It only cost you money and time and energy and sweat and tech, and putting all of that aside, putting all that stuff aside and just being okay to show up as me. So in any given moment, I really understood this morning when I was like sort of lying face down on the floor, weeping because I was so sad, that there's a lot of stuff going on in here. There's a lot of grief, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of stopping places, a lot of old stopping places where people say, that's stupid, you shouldn't do that, who do you think you are, those kinds of things that have embedded themselves in this brain of mine, and they become that stinking thinking place. They become that ding place where it just keeps replaying and replaying and replaying, and I am feeling done with that. But the problem is that it has been on automatic for so long that it actually takes conscious effort to unplug it and to plug something else in. And so today, ultimately, I'm going to go to bed tonight feeling extremely satisfied, knowing, again, that I interacted with people on the street, that their response was mostly good, that I'm going to look foolish and silly to some, and that I have to let that be okay. Maybe they're too embarrassed to come over and talk to me. Maybe they've got something else going on in their lives and they don't feel like laughing. And the deal is, not everybody has to come and talk to me, but I'm there and available if they want to. So I'm excited about what the future holds, and nervous and everything else. But ultimately, I love being able to come here and share my thoughts and feelings with you. So thank you so much. Love you. See you tomorrow.